He didn't buy it, but he helped get the price.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order August 5th, 2025. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, good morning, everyone. We do have a quorum present this morning with 4 out of 5 commissioners in attendance. Commissioners, I sent an email last night for a potential need to amend the agenda before you this morning. That need has since been rescinded, so we'll take that up at the next meeting. And so with that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Also like to recognize Jeremiah Ryman, the Director of Wyoming County Commissioners Association. Thanks for joining us this morning. That's going to move us right along into the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. This time, if there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to address the governing body, now is the appropriate time. We typically limit it to 3 minutes, and the floor is open. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. That's going to move us right along into tab A. Under tab A this morning, Commissioners, is the consent agenda. We've got 6 items before you. The first being the approval of the July 15th, 2025 meeting minutes. Second is the approval of the county vouchers, the warrants, the EALs, known as the expenditure approval listing. Third is the approval of bonds. Fourth is the approval of abates and rebates. Fifth is a request to ratify the CLG comments on the Bureau of Land Management Wyoming's 2025 fourth quarter competitive oil and gas lease sale draft environmental assessment. And sixth is a request to restaff a vacant position in the vacant positions in the clerk of district court's office. Commissioners, I would ask if there's any desires to remove any of these items off of the consent agenda this morning. I would request that we remove warrant number 127677 from the expenditure approval listing, which is a warrant to bonds, plumbing, and heating. With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. This time, I'd entertain a motion to approve warrant number 127677 to Vaughn's Plumbing and Heating in the amount of $304,000.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. I will abstain due to that being the place in which I'm employed. It's going to move us right along into the commissioner comments portion of the agenda. Commissioner Toman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's been a busy 2 weeks with all the fairs and rodeos, so I've been on the road quite a bit here lately. On July 19th, I attended the National High School Finals Rodeo Queen, some of the contest events in the coronation, my niece Taylor Hernandez, and she says this commission, you guys are her heroes, so I just wanted to tell you that. And the only reason that they are her heroes is because they pick her brain and trying to find out all the dirt on me. So anyway, I don't know if that's a good goal for her to have these guys as heroes or not. Anyway, it was a tight contest. There were 43 contestants, 2 from Canada, 1 from Mexico, and all over the United States. She won the personality, interview, and appearance categories, and she was the first runner-up. It was a close race, and she gave it her all. So we were quite proud of her. I attended the rodeo reception that night with the other local dignitaries. I also attended the rodeo that evening. What an amazing event for our county. This exceeds the National Rodeo Finals in Las Vegas with the number of contestants and animals involved. And we may get an opportunity to host this event again in 2 years. It will be in Lincoln, Nebraska for the next 2 years, but they're rebidding for the event as Gillette had a special purpose tax vote that failed to build new arenas. So the directors said Sweetwater County should keep their name in the hat. So we may have an opportunity, even though we don't have everything that they want. No one else has it either. So we're not done yet. Road and Bridge Department, I just wanted to commend Jean and Luke Smith and Farson. Farson area residents have reached out to me to extend thanks and appreciation for the road work on Rye Patch and County Road 133 and 138 near Eden. So thank you. Good job, guys. On 7/21, I attended the library board meeting. They entered into a contractual agreement with Southwest Counseling Service for implementation and administration of an employee assistance program for employees and families in need of such services. The interlibrary loan system has been terminated at the state level. Carrie Quickenden was welcomed as the newest board member. The summer reading program has been very popular, and library program attendance has increased 27.4% over last year, 50,129 from 39,353. So good job, library. The library is currently accepting applications for a business manager, and construction on the 3 facilities is progressing well. Cleve Holloway called me to request that the Wall Street Journal subscription be continued at White Mountain Library. It was terminated in March with no warning to the patrons. So perhaps the library could put up a special contribution box for the Wall Street Journal. So my request to the public is, if you subscribe, donate your copies to the libraries. I talked with Lindsay Travis, library director, and she said that the price had doubled, the service and delivery was poor, and because of budget cuts, she did not renew it. She did not feel it was good use of taxpayer dollars to resubscribe when it appears that only 2 patrons actually read it. So I just call out to the public, please donate your copies if you do subscribe to it. On July 22nd, I attended the Wyoming Colorado River Advisory Committee meeting in Pinedale. Excuse me. Chris Brown from the AG's office presented a historical perspective on the river leading up to the 1922 Colorado River Compact. The lower basin states focused on flood control and storage, while the upper basin states focused on securing future needs. The states have always agreed on management versus having the courts or Congress determine it, but as 2025 leads to the expiration of all agreements, it is more imperative than ever that the states find a way to agree going forward, because the courts don't get it right when they offer their solutions. Hydrology has not been our friend, as water flows have continued to decline over time. For that reason, Wyoming is looking to find ways to mitigate effects of drought through voluntary conservation efforts, hoping to appease their fellow states in reaching an agreement. So stay tuned, as it's going to be a bumpy ride to protect our water uses. And I would highly recommend that one of us from this board attend the Colorado River Commission meeting in November in Las Vegas. Mr. Chairman.
I'll be reporting on that as well, Commissioner.
Okay. On July 22nd, I attended Red Desert Roundup Rodeo, another great rodeo in its 47th year. Congratulations to all the volunteers who continue to make this such a great event. On the 29th, I attended as a liaison the Golden Hour Senior Center board meeting. New board members who were present were Barbara Kendall and Sandy Johnson. John Freeman was reelected also. There was discussion about changing their bylaws to allow the chairman to serve a 2-year term. Tata Chemicals granted the center $10,000 for their home delivered meals. They also provide an additional grant of $2,000 to the center. Special thanks to them. The new ice machine is in place and the floor has been replaced under it. The board also ratified their Wyoming Senior Services grant, the funds from the state. Total meals served in June of 2025 was 3,441, up slightly from last June. Home delivered meals went from 1,770 to 1,910 this June. Special thanks were extended to Dan and Vivian Shedden for completing the shelving in the craft room. On August 29th and 31st and August 2nd, I attended the Sweetwater County Fair and the concerts. My ears are still ringing from the Saturday night concert with Starset, but it was a very good light show. Saturday night with Chris Lane. The volume was down. It was very pleasant. So thank you anyway. Special thanks to the crew at the fairgrounds and special thanks to the bidders for the 4-H livestock auction. They always support our youth, so thank you. August 1st, I attended the federal partners meeting via Zoom. I'll leave that to Commissioner Richards and Jones. Richard Teton National Forest cooperators meet this week to go over their forest plan assessment. Sweetwater County has been excluded from these meetings, but Chad Hudson, Forest Supervisor, promised that there would be a meeting in Sweetwater County to share that information with our public, so be watching for that. I'm still mad because they won't let us be a cooperator because we don't actually have forest land in our county, but we do have many other interactions with that forest. So we were cooperators when they started on the plan 20 years ago. Interesting. Rock Springs Bureau of Land Management Resource Management Plan. We as a county are working on a response letter to our cooperator meeting on that resource management plan. They've asked us again to provide comments, giving our recommendations to what we would like to see. A meeting with Acting State Director Kirby will be scheduled soon. I think they're sort of waiting for DC to appoint a BLM director, so that may be some of the slowdown of getting that finalized. Congressional tour coming up Wednesday, sponsored by the Wyoming County Commission Association. So thank you, Jeremiah, for creating such a powerful event. I will get on the bus at South Pass, ride to Seaskiddy National Wildlife Refuge. My topics will include the Red Desert, and I'll give them each a copy of this map, which points out the wilderness study areas, areas of critical environmental concern, tri-territory site. I will also be talking about endangered species issues, the Farson farming area, and Colorado River issues as we cross the Green River and head to the refuge. That we shall have lunch at the refuge. That evening, I'll attend the dinner at Buckboard Marina. We will have congressional staffers from both Republican and Democratic parties, so it's our opportunity to share with them Wyoming issues. Special thanks to Soda for sponsoring the Buckboard Marina dinner. Upcoming August 8th, I will attend the Forbes family dinner near Sheep Creek by Flaming Gorge. That's always an interesting dinner at the farm, and the family provide all of the products that go into that special dinner. August 13th, we have a special meeting with Senator Barrasso's staff. August 14th, we have lunch with the governor at the Chamber of Commerce at Santa Fe. August 15th is the Green River 2025 River Festival and Cajun Shrimp Boil Dinner at Expedition Island, 5 p.m. August 18th, Library Board. August 21st, our Coalition of Local Governments, where we meet to discuss all the federal issues. Thank you.
Report, Commissioner. Any comments or questions for Commissioner Tomann's report?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Jones.
just one quick comment. Your niece Taylor, who has a wonderful name, by the way, but she's my hero for sharing all of the dirt on you. We don't even have to dig very hard. She's free with it. So she's welcome to lunch anytime.
Especially today, because you're buying.
That's right, but I'm not inviting her because I'm not going to have her tell Jeremiah all my secrets also.
Congratulations to her. Definitely a successful week.
I think she's recuperating so she can go to State Fair next week.
Busy times. Thanks for the report. Commissioner Richards, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. It's been over a month since I was last with all of you, so I do have quite a bit to cover, but I'll do my best to keep it brief. But I've been busy, so I'm probably going to go over my time a little bit. On July 3rd, I attended the Enterprise meeting at the hospital. On the 4th, I celebrated Independence Day by hosting a barbecue for family and friends, after which we took advantage of the conditions created by the fantastic rainfall we had on the 4th and set off some of our own fireworks before enjoying the display put on by Rock Springs at the events complex. On the 9th, I attended the WCCA monthly conference call and also spent some time discussing a few issues with Director McLean about some projects he's working on. On the 11th, I participated in a congressional tour planning meeting. On the 15th and 16th, I joined Treasurer Cowan and Land Use Director Bingham, as well as almost 40 other elected officials and community leaders from across Wyoming in a tour of the Idaho National Laboratory in and outside of Idaho Falls. We have a recap of that tour on our agenda later this morning, so I won't get into detail here, but I will say that it was both fascinating and informative, and I encourage all of you to make sure that if you have the opportunity to visit the INL in the future, that you do it. They're planning another Wyoming Community Days tour next year, but I'm sure we could plan something sooner if anyone is interested in attending one. Because I was there, I missed both our meeting on the 15th as well as the airport meeting on the 16th. I did, however, visit with Airport Director Brubaker on the 18th when I joined him for a tour of the new airport terminal and got caught up on a few things. The opening of the terminal is still on schedule for the end of this month, with a formal grand opening coming in September, which we will all, of course, be invited to. On the 22nd, I joined Chief Deputy County Attorney De Leon and Land Use Director Bingham for a trip to Kemmer for a government-to-government meeting with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, where they were collecting comments and answering questions on the construction phase of the TerraPower Natrium plant. Just to be clear, this was just about the construction phase of the nuclear reactor, which, if you'll remember, was not included in the Kemmer 1 industrial siting process because the NRC took primacy in the permitting process. Also, I want to reiterate that this was just for the construction phase of the reactor. Permitting for the operation of the plant, which includes spent fuel storage, will come at a later date, and we will be sure to participate in that stage as well. Later that day, I participated in another congressional tour planning meeting, a meeting with representatives from the Department of Energy, as well as an SEDC board meeting. SEDC is actively developing a plan to determine how it will operate in the future, and I'm confident that we'll come out the other side of the transition stronger and more effective than we've ever been. Having an economic development agency is more important than ever, as there are a lot of opportunities coming towards Sweetwater County, and we have to be ready to take advantage of them. I spent the rest of the week at Cheyenne Frontier Days, where I took the opportunity to network with elected officials and stakeholders from around the state. I was able to visit with the governor and other statewide elected officials, several legislative leaders from around the state, as well as business leaders who operate in our area of Wyoming. I got to meet the owners of Sweetwater Royalties. They were there, and I've got their numbers. For those that don't know, they own a very large portion of Sweetwater County, having bought much of the Occidental lands, and they're great contacts to have, and they said they're willing to partner with Sweetwater County for land projects in the future. I also got to watch some great rodeo and a couple of really good concerts there as well, so it wasn't all that bad. While I was there, I made time to join in on another congressional tour planning meeting where we buttoned up most of the final details of the tour. On the 27th, I spent a good part of the day setting up my own booth at the events complex, as well as helping set up the Republican Party's booth. And on the 29th, the big show, also known as the Sweetwater County Fair, finally got started. I just want to take a minute to thank everyone who makes Wyoming's big show what it is, and what it is gets better every single year. Everyone from Director Pendleton to her staff to the fair board members, the volunteers, the participants, and the public that attends make the Sweetwater County Fair an amazing event. So thank all of you for everything you do. Wearing my private sector hat, I was a presenting sponsor of Friday night's concert along with the hospital and Western EGI, and I can say without any reservation that Starset put on the biggest and best production in Wyoming Big Show history, second to none. They were fantastic performers, fantastic musicians, and for $15 or less, the people who attended were treated to as good or better a concert as they could get in any large venue for 10 times the price. I did take a break from the fair last week to do some work, though, and on the 30th, I attended the monthly Southwest Counseling meeting. It looks like they have unofficially, preliminarily learned that they will be receiving the 4th year of the CCBHC grant, which is fantastic news. That's about $1 million. With that grant comes the need for a community needs assessment that has to focus on one or more of 9 specific areas. And their board has asked me to ask all of you to take a look at those 9 areas and see if there are any that you would like them to focus on. In the past, they looked at veteran and youth needs, but this is an opportunity to expand that to some other available areas. I'll forward all of you some of the documents explaining what those areas are. They are pressed for time, though, so if you have any input, let me know as soon as possible, and I'll pass it on. In the meantime, Interim Director Marchetti and Treatment Director Pizzata will be meeting with Grants Director Marshall to discuss optimizing the grant. On the 1st, I also attended our first Friday Federal Partners meeting at the Chamber. The news I'm sure you're all interested in is that the BLM says that they have the RMP amendment ready to go, but in their words, it's going to be published soon, but it's in a holding pattern waiting on headquarters for approval to move forward. So that's as much specifics as I was able to get out of them. In relation to their horse roundups, their roundups in the Rollins portion of the Tobytown herd began on July 15th. They completed 1,675 removals from the Rollins herd. Their goal was to bring it down to an AML maximum of 259 horses. But their surveys show that there are still considerably more horses than that in the area. Spoke a little bit about roadless, and they predict that roadless will be probably 1 to 2 years before we start seeing effects from that change. Of course, the 10th Circuit Court put a hold on gathering horses in the Rock Springs herd and the removal of that herd. The local BM office does expect to win that case, and while their gathers have been delayed, they do expect to move forward soon. They discussed jackalope briefly. Currently, the wind energy plans do not meet executive priorities, so it's basically a low priority issue addressing the jackalope, so it hasn't been stopped, but other issues all come before it. Moving forward, tomorrow, finally, the congressional tour will arrive here in Sweetwater County. Commissioner Slaughter has put in countless hours planning for it, even though he wouldn't be here for it. And thanks to all of his work, Sweetwater County's itinerary for them will be memorable. For the public that's tuned in, the Wyoming County Commissioners Association plans a congressional tour across multiple counties every year. And this year it includes Natrona County, Fremont County, Sweetwater County, and Carbon County. It includes about 15 senior level congressional staffers from both parties and from around the country. And each one of those counties is responsible for cramming as much information into less than 24 hours that each of us has with them as possible. While they're here with the help of many speakers, including Chairman West and Commissioner Toman, we'll discuss agriculture, oil and gas, coal, the airport, the RMP, and much, much more. We have a tour of the Trona mines planned for them, a visit to Buckboard Marina, some of Green River's Greenbelt trails, and much, much more. The whole idea of it is so that senior staffers who are responsible for advising the Congress members they work for how to vote will have real world hands-on experience in our communities, and to know when they make decisions back in Washington, they'll remember that there are people and places involved in those decisions. Today, the tour is in Fremont County, I believe, and I will join them bright and early tomorrow morning and act as tour guide while they are in Sweetwater County until we hand them off to Carbon County late Thursday morning. Again, a big thanks to Commissioner Slaughter, who did the lion's share of the work. I just get to be a pretty face on the bus. Over the weekend, I'm going to take my grandson to Denver to watch the Savannah Bananas play the Firefighters in a game of banana ball. And to my good friend Bob out there that I know is listening and who is going to say banana ball isn't real baseball, I don't care. It's still fun to watch. Next week on the 12th, I have an SEDC meeting planned. On the 13th, John and Eric and I will head to Kemmer for the Dry Piney Helium Industrial Siting MOU meeting with Lincoln County. That is assuming that all of you still want me to represent Sweetwater County in those negotiations. If that's the case, we should probably make it official. And I ask that someone moves to authorize me to negotiate the Dry Piney MOU on Sweetwater County's behalf.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, good with that?
That didn't take long.
If you're good with it, Commissioner, I think you've done an outstanding job. I know you got a lot on your plate during those last 2 or 3 that hit kind of all at the same time, but if you're good, we're good, certainly. And I believe that was unanimous.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Unless somebody else wants to do it, I'm always open to hand it off. The project is actually centered in Sublette County, but it appears that since Sublette County does not levy a 5 cent sales tax, It makes them ineligible for impact assistance payments. So industrial siting put Lincoln County in charge of coordinating the MOU. The impacts in Sweetwater County probably won't be huge, but every dollar makes a difference these days. So we'll absolutely take part in the process. And so far, that's all I have planned before I see all of you again back here on the 19th. As always, I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate the report. A lot going on in the last 3 weeks for you, certainly. Any questions or comments for Commissioner Richards' report? Not, Commissioner Jones, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try and be a little shorter than Commissioner Richards.
I took Rob's time. He was gonna.
On the 15th, after our last commission meeting, I attended the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County Building and Grounds Committee meeting where they reviewed progress on the lab expansion, the MOB project, and some other smaller projects. Everything's moving right along. So pretty exciting with changes coming up there. On the 16th, I attended again, a hospital meeting, but this was the quality meeting. Wide variety of topics are covered in that one. It's about an hour and a half long, so I won't bore you with all of the details, but the committee reviews successes and also some topics that need some improvement. Overall, good progress is being made in the area of quality, so they're working hard and seeing results. Also on the 16th, attended part of the WCCA call regarding our ability to sign up for Amazon Prime, potentially saving counties across Wyoming money. I'd like to take second and thank WCCA for their continued support and invaluable service to all Wyoming counties. On the 17th and 18th, I attended the National High School Finals Rodeo. Congratulations to the events complex and staff for all of their hard work and their part to pull off a very well run and executed week of events. Also, congratulations to all the cowboys and cowgirls traveling from near and far to compete. It was very impressive to see everybody and see the good sportsmanship. That one thing I always love about rodeo. On the 19th and 20th, attended the daddy of them all, Cheyenne Frontier Days. It was a short trip over for me. I went over Saturday morning and came back Sunday evening, but it was good to spend some time with friends and family. I too was able to speak with the governor and various leaders from Wyoming as well as Utah. On the 22nd, I attended a team's call regarding the 250th celebration of our great nation and the side-by-side / UTV / Jeep motorcycle Bring What You Want trip that we're planning to put together in conjunction with Wyoming State Parks. The ride is open to the public. It'll travel from Evanston to the steps of the Capitol, hoping to hit the steps of the Capitol on July 4th. The goal is to cross little or no pavement, or at least to avoid pavement as much as possible. On the 28th, I attended a public meeting put on by the Bridger Teton Forest regarding the land use plan they began working on. The plan will directly affect anyone in Sweetwater County who recreates in the Bridger Teton. I was the fourth and final person to sign in, which was very disappointing. So folks need to understand how important this is and how important it is to voice your concerns and your wishes. So please get involved. I attended mainly just to hear from the public and see what they had to say and what their thoughts were, but nobody was there. I too attended the fair and concerts. Also volunteered at the Sweetwater GOP booth. As always, Candy and her staff pulled off another exceptional fair season. I don't know how they do it, one event after another back to back. They obviously don't sleep, but had some outstanding concerts, a bunch of great performers around the grounds, and it certainly appeared that everybody in attendance had a great time, which seems to be the case every single year. I don't know how they make it better every year. I keep thinking I'm going to show up and it's going to be the same old thing, and it never is. So congratulations on another outstanding fair. On the 1st, I attended the Federal Partners meeting. We heard updates from the Forest Service and also the BLM. As Commissioner Richards covered very well, sadly, not much is done on the RMP. It does have me more than a little nervous, so I've reached out to some of our delegation in DC, in particular, Senator Barrasso's office, see if we can get some movement there. I haven't heard anything back yet. I'll probably continue to do that because I think sitting and waiting is going to be very detrimental to us, and everybody seems to just be sitting back in their seats for the time being, waiting for somebody to make a move. But without a state director And without leadership in Washington, D.C. and the BLM, everybody just seems to be shrugging their shoulders, saying they don't know what to do. So some point we've got to see some action and see some movement on that thing, or time will eat us up. So that concludes my report.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any comments or questions for Commissioner Jones's report? Getting off easy today. I guess I'm Mr. Redundant with Rob being gone today. Kicked off, I believe, right after our last meeting on the 15th. We had our first opioid committee meeting. Christina and John, Commissioner Slaughter, myself, we met with Corona Insights and kind of laid the groundwork for the upcoming interviews for the community stakeholders in regards to that needs assessment. We'll continue to work on that and move forward. Later that week, obviously, was National High School Finals Rodeo. Stuttered through a little bit of a speech there at the Celebrate 8 night that Candy and her team put on. Unfortunately, it was a little bit of a low turnout for the event, but nonetheless, having the rodeo here was good as always for the community, and it seems like everyone enjoyed it. So we'll see what the future brings with that. The following week, I had my monthly Young at Heart Senior Center meeting. Not a whole lot on their agenda that night. Rick Vandersloot, the sitting chairman, stepped down. He's relocating, so they have a vacancy on that board that they'll be filling, but they had obviously a change in officers there, so certainly appreciate him and his service to that board. The events complex was later that evening, but it was a light agenda, so Candy advised that that'd be a good one to skip, so I did that. Catch up with them later this month on all the recaps of a busy month and busy summer for them. Let's see here. Been working on trying to come up with some plans for Waco with Jeremiah in regards to kind of the breakaway day for the WCCA on that. A little bit of a hurdle there, but we're continuing to work on that. That's coming up quick towards the end of September. We've obviously got the congressional tour dinner tomorrow, and following with a brief speech Thursday morning on the BLM's RMP as that group makes their way over to Carbon County. Last week we had the Sweetwater Water Users Coalition meeting. Went over a wealth of information on that. Basically, the short of it is they've extended the deadline as far as the Colorado River Advisory meeting goes to November 11th. They're still kind of waiting on consensus among the different states. They're looking into different options, particular to a pilot voluntary conservation program. And they've got various other topics they're looking into, potential water storage, unused water storage, and the Fontenelle Reservoir and things of that nature. Select Water and Water Development are having a joint meeting starting today here at Western Wyoming Community College that'll span over today, tomorrow, and Thursday. So lots going on back and forth with that. Obviously, needs to be in place by October of 2026. It's got to go through the EIS, Record of Decision, and all the NEPA process that comes along with that. So lots of meetings between now and then on trying to find consensus. I think the bigger enemy is obviously hydrology itself and not necessarily the lower versus upper basin. But it'll be interesting to see what shakes out, and certainly we'll keep our eye on that. So sounds like Commissioner Toman's heading to Vegas, and we appreciate her and all of her efforts for that. Tomorrow I've got the leadership luncheon with both mayors of Rock Springs and Green River in the Rock Springs Chamber. So I'll catch up with those guys. I missed last month. Obviously attended the fair over the weekend. Everyone's spoke well about that. It was a good event. Also volunteered at the GOP booth one day, and it seems like it was widely attended throughout the entire week. So good efforts. I could barely hear leaving Friday night, but certainly an entertaining performance there. Lastly, I believe I'll end with the Public Works report. In the buildings department, the C Street Library meeting room remodel is progressing very well. The new structural framing has been installed, and the drywall is also being installed. The Sweetwater County Library and the Green River meeting room is complete with only the punch list remaining. The White Mountain Library demolition is ongoing. The steel stud framing is being completed for the new areas of the room. Southwest Counseling's Jonah Modular is almost complete, except for some minor punch list items. The exterior parking lot and concrete work are scheduled to be completed in early September. The Washkey home is complete with only minor punch list items remaining as well. We completed a pre-substantial completion walkthrough of the Ankeny facility, and several minor outstanding items need to be completed before a substantial completion walkthrough can be finalized. And the Southwest Counseling Duran home is also nearing completion. The Sweetwater County Combined Facilities progressing nicely. We completed an initial walkthrough of the office facility in Building E. The warehouse area in Building E is receiving its final cleaning and concrete floor treatments. Building F is progressing with too many things going on to name for that this time. But exterior panels on both buildings that were damaged and not weather tight are being replaced this week. We've reviewed the 75% design plans for the White Mountain Library HVAC upgrade late last week with the library and Sweetwater County staff. The detention center rooftop unit and air handler unit upgrade project is progressing. The contractor has set 5 units and is planning on setting another 3 this week. The air handlers are scheduled to be delivered in the last week of August. Maintenance crews handled 107 work order requests throughout the month of July. Over in Road and Bridge, all of the magnesium chloride has been applied to all the scheduled roads. Crews are grading roadside ditches from some of the recent rain events, clearing cattle guards, and fixing delineators. Crews have also been busy completing asphalt blade patching of intersections in North Rock Springs. In the engineering department, the County Road 15 9-mile road reconstruction project is going well. The contractor started paving the hot plant mix pavement last week with hopes of being completed by the middle of next week. They will then finish up the topsoil placement, delineators, and signage. The seeding will be completed in the early fall when the weather is more favorable for dryland seeding. The contractor for the culvert lining project on County Road 101, Farson Second North, started this Monday and is hoping to have both culverts lined by the end of next week. We have started advertising for the 2026 crack seal project for next year, and we are working on the specifications for the Golden Hour parking lot concrete and asphalt replacement project. Staff is working with Trout Unlimited on a solution to the culvert on County Road 34, Ramsey Ranch Road, at the confluence of Trout Creek and Sage Creek. The culvert head wall has been redesigned to save money, and we are looking at completing this in-house in the late fall, depending on the weather. And in Parks and Recreation, crews are continuing to work on mowing and keeping the parks clean. They recently removed 30-plus dead cottonwood trees from the Sweetwater County picnic grounds after a couple of trees blew down during a recent windstorm. Repairs had to be made to some major sprinkler feed lines at various parks. These line breaks didn't cause major issues. However, the lines had to be dug up, repaired, and replaced. Public Works Director Legursky sent along some photos of the various projects I just spoke to. And with that, Commissioners, I believe that is all I have before you this morning, so I would stand for any questions. If not, nice work. Always an interesting report after a 3-week break between the last meeting and now. With Commissioner Slaughter being gone, we'll move right along to tab B, which is the action presentation items this morning. First on the list is the new mill levies for the 2025 mill levy sheet. Joining us this morning is Assessor Dave Davis. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, what we've done here is we got our last budget submitted by a special tax authority, and that happened yesterday morning about 9:30, 10. Once that was completed, I sent you a copy. I did find one minor adjustment we needed to do and gave Sally a new version this morning. But the mill levies have all been calculated. We will send a report into the State Board of Equalization to confirm that no one's over their maximum allowance and should have approval from them shortly. So that is the story with the values and the mill levies.
It didn't look like it was high enough, Dave. Is that right?
It never is. It never is. We did have the certified value came in at 2,318,000,000, which was higher than what I had given you to budget on. I was very concerned about an industrial appeal. That value had been, it wasn't settled. That value, the additional information was provided, the appraisal was reduced. And actually at the end, the final valuation that we're going to use to collect taxes is 2.313. Okay, so it is a little bit higher than what you budgeted on. The difference, you know, based on the estimate I gave you, you're up about $450,000 based on that. So I was very conservative with this appeal. I was a little spooked and I was very conservative.
No, we appreciate that. I say that with light humor, but obviously a very important piece of
Yeah.
keeping these operations in motion. So any questions for the 2025 mills, commissioners? Well, if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the mill levies for the 2025 sheet as presented.
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Dave.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just a little update. We had talked last year about the long-term homeowners exemption and the homeowners exemption and the additional requirements that were going to be placed on assessors' offices across the state. Well, the Department of Revenue came up with a solution for that 25% because that exemption is now owner occupied. Okay, so it has to be something where an application had to be filled out. The estimates were 170 to 175,000 applications across the state. So it's going to be a huge, huge additional workload for assessors because we were charged with managing this. The Department of Revenue has actually set up a portal where people can actually apply for this online. Now, we'll still be helping people who have trouble with technology, older folks that may not have the internet at all. We'll still reach out to the senior centers and anywhere else we need to go to try and help people get signed up. But that additional workload has been streamlined with the Department of Revenue, and they've done some very, very good work to try and make that as easy as humanly possible, both for the public and for the assessors. But what we've done, our association got with the Treasurers Association, and we're going to put on the back of the tax bill, we're going to put instructions on how to apply. Last year we threw in an insert, but it cost quite a bit of money that some of the counties couldn't absorb. So we decided as a group to go with information on the back of the tax bill. I visited with Treasurer Cowan yesterday. He's on board. The other part of this is the long-term homeowners exemption. Because of the way the statute was written, the people that qualified last year have to reapply, and they have to reapply on a form prescribed by the department. So the Department of Revenue is working on that renewal portion now, and we're hoping that our printing vendor can submit those applications with the tax bills. So if you received a long-term homeowners exemption last year, the application to renew would be in your tax bill when it arrived. We're hoping it's going to work. This is something that came up just last week. It was a great idea. We're trying to make sure all the pieces fall in place in time for us to be able to do that. But that would save, we have 2,186 applications, and at postage being, I think we decided 74 cents. That's over $1,600 that we would save in postage alone just by not having to mail those out individually after the fact. So the assessors and treasurers across the state, for the most part, are actually working together to try and get this out to the public, make it easier for the public, and then get people renewed for these exemptions. So just to give you a little bit of an update on that. The application dates are all October 1st. The homeowners exemption, the 25%, it's a smaller window. It's October 1st to February 1st. And then the long-term homeowners is October 1st to May 26th. So it's something where there's a window there. The 25% is tighter than the other one, but we'll make sure we get as many people signed up as humanly possible.
Clarify that for me, because I was writing notes when you started there, but the homeowner's exemption also has to be applied for?
Yes, sir. It
Okay.
has to be because it's owner occupied. You have to certify that you live in the home you want the exemption on. The prior year, we just did it by abstract code. If it was a single family structure, it got 25% right off the bat. Whether it was your home or a rental or anything
Okay.
else, it got the exemption right away. Now you have to certify that you are living in that particular structure. So at that point, you only get that 25% on that house. So that's where that's the difference between what we did last year and what we're going to be doing this
Okay.
year.
Good to know. Someone asked me the other day and I didn't have an answer, so.
Yeah.
So how does that work for those that have a secondary home? Is it one or just
What-
one or
It'd
just
be
your
wherever-
primary?
Primary residence, that's correct. That's exactly right. So yeah, there's going to be some hiccups. There are going to be some hurdles to get through, but I mean, this is, the legislation was passed and the legislature, I think, has maybe changed their mind or they want to maybe go back to what we did the year before, but there's no session in between. So we're stuck with what they've done. Who knows what they're going to do in this upcoming session? But this is where we're at right now because that's where the law sits.
All right, sorry to make you repeat it, Dave, but the homeowner's window was October 1st to,
October 1st through February 1st.
And then the long term was through May?
October 1st through the fourth Monday in May, which is May 26th.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. I think that's important to know because I'm not sure that the average person understands that. I think a lot of it was just assumed that it would be how it was handled this year, I guess. So,
We're going to do some press. I'll get out and we'll go to the senior centers, like I said, to get people renewed. We'll be out on all of the talk shows and all that kind of stuff, explaining how to get people signed up and make sure they're all aware. But there will be no one that didn't get it. I mean, this is on the tax bill. It's also going to be on the assessment. So everybody's going to be able to be aware of this. We'll put stuff in the newspapers and Sweetwater Now online everywhere.
sure.
So we'll do the best we can to make sure everybody's aware.
Very good. Appreciate it. Any comments, questions? Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question on, you have to apply for it essentially, but if I have my primary residence and 4 rentals and I turn in the paperwork to get the property tax reduction on all of them, is there any way to checks and balances, or
We
is it
will
just
check
the
that.
honor system?
No, we will check that.
Okay.
It's something where, sometimes that happens accidentally. Sometimes people aren't familiar with the website. They may have included a property they didn't intend to. But as this information is coming into our office, the applications will be scrutinized. I mean, we are not just going to let everything that come in get the exemption. We do have to do some work. And the Department of Revenue, like I said, are really, really good. They're going to provide us tools to maybe eliminate, maybe by owner's last name and make sure that, we only have one per owner, that kind of thing, where we can, sift out some of that stuff that kind of smells fishy. So, and then we'll reach out to the taxpayer and find out, because, there's stories that, you don't understand. There may be information we're not aware of. Last year, there was a husband and wife. They were still married. He lived in Sweetwater County. She lived in Sublette County. Both of those properties were their primary residences. They got the exemption on both properties because it was an odd situation, because they were married but didn't necessarily live together the entire year. But in that situation, they did both apply. So you have weird stories out there that actually they don't look like they make sense, but when you talk to the taxpayer, there's an explanation, and sometimes they do qualify. So, and any issues we have or any questions we have, we always reach out to the department. And again, the property tax division guy it's Ken Gill. And if you ever see Ken testify in front of the department or in front of any revenue committee or anybody else, he's fantastic. He's a former assessor and now he's the director there, and he's just fantastic. And he's been a great asset for the assessors all across the state.
Any other questions? Very good. Well, thanks, Dave. Appreciate the information.
I'll keep you posted.
Okay. It's going to move us right along to item number 2 under tab B, which is a request for the approval of resolution 2025-08-CC-01, a resolution approving Wyoming Horse Racing LLC's change of address and authorizing Wyoming Horse Racing LLC to conduct pari-mutuel wagering on live horse racing, historic horse racing, and simulcast events at 420 Uinta Drive, Green River, Wyoming. With us today is Wyoming Horse Racing Executive Vice President Pete Lagori. I know I'm gonna mess that one up. Nick Hughes, the president, and John Sheldon, the executive vice president. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning. Good morning. Chairman West, fellow commissioners, thank you for taking the time to let us talk about this. We are already here in Uinta County. We know
what you meant.
Yeah. So, we have, my name is Nick Hughes. As Chairman West said, I'm the president of Pace Setter Racing and Gaming, which is the owning company of Wyoming Horse Racing. We bought the company in December 2021, although I was here back in 2013, 2014, working with the then owners of Wyoming Horse Racing, and we managed their properties for 3 years from that time. We have a history here. We race at a Sweetwater complex. Sweetwater Downs. We run this year 18 days of racing. It's been a huge success for us. We have been very financially involved with the complex. We have committed to invest 1.2 million in upgrades, of which we've probably already completed about 70% of that number. The horse racing itself is really very, very important. We're all owners, and this year we will have at Sweetwater over 1,000 horses running over the 18 days. Our purses will be close to $2 million. So it will be some of the richest racing in Wyoming. We're very proud to be in partnership, and we're keen to continue to invest there. This is a simple move. We're already here. We are moving to a bigger facility. The reason being that we inherited the current location, and we want to upgrade, but we're restricted, in all honesty, by the amount of space. With this new facility, it's 7,500 square feet. It allows us to put better amenities for people, i.e. more food and beverage or better food and beverage. And it would have a real significant impact to the taxes that we pay to the state, the city, and the county. In 2024, I think we pay close to 700,000, split between those three entities. With this move, we project that the annual tax revenue will be over $1 million. So it has significant benefits to state, county, and city. There will be 10 employees. It's an investment to us of about $500,000 to renovate the existing property, and it's a 3 to 4 month construction. But again, we're not looking to add an OTB. We're just looking to move to give better facilities to our patrons. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that. Just to clarify, because there was an article that came out that assumed you guys were moving into the old movie theater, which is not the case.
No, I believe
that's your competition. So
yeah.
Currently, Wyoming Horse Racing is operating in Green River right now at 110 UNA Drive. They're looking to relocate right up the street at 420 UNA Drive, which happens to be on the same UNA Drive that your competition is on in the old movie theater.
Yep.
But they're looking to expand their operation as far as the amenities that they can offer. The operation itself, as I understand it, is no more simulcasting machines. It's the same amount. It's just you're getting more square footage.
Yeah, there would be a slight increase. I mean, it's somewhere in the region to 50. We haven't done the floor plan yet but we've done a temporary floor plan. It would be about 15 to 19 max, more terminals. I think we're currently at like 64, and we would go just up. But it's also F&B. It's also simulcast for people to bet on on races. It's a true off-track betting facility.
And so I guess part of my question for today, when we met a couple weeks ago, I thought you guys were coming here just to kind of explain to the commission as a whole, and then you'd be coming back at our second meeting in August asking for approval. Is that still the case, or are you looking for approval today?
It would be, we need to go in front of the Gaming Commission. And we always work with the counties and the cities to get approval, their blessing. We already have a letter from the city for their support for the move. So this is obviously our work to make sure that the county is happy with what we're trying to do. It would be great because there is a process in order for us to get the final and ultimate approval from the Wyoming Gaming Commission. So the sooner we could get it, the sooner we get our work done. We have the owner of the property here today, Don Johnson. He's keen for us to invest. We're keen to invest. The sooner we can get that done, the better. If you feel it's necessary to come back to the next meeting, we'll obviously honor, your wishes.
Yeah, I guess that's what we had agreed on
Mhm.
when we originally had this conversation. So I
Mm.
don't think I was prepared to necessarily take action.
Mm.
We have reviewed the resolution. We have some questions. There's 84 currently approved terminals. My understanding that would still remain. Sounds like that is
Correct.
expanded.
No, no, sorry, sir. We are still at 84. We're not looking to go any bigger than but we currently operate in the existing location because it's smaller with about 65.
Oh, okay.
So we're not going above our permitted number of 84. We're just going up to the 84.
I see. Okay. And then I wasn't sure how the Wyoming Gaming Commission is handling this. Does your current, contract or resolution, if you will, is that void so that this new one starts over at a new 3-year term? Or can you explain what the process is for that? Because I know we were looking into some of this when I met with you all.
Mhm.
The goal was to have this wrapped up in hopes of prior to September when you meet with Wyoming Gaming Commission. So
Correct.
we thought we'd get information today and then vote in a
Mhm.
couple weeks.
Which is fine,
But
obviously.
can you go over kind of how they're looking at that or what the plan of attack is on your current license versus your amended license, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, we have to be in good standing. We are regulated and enforced by the Gaming Commission. Our numbers are always reported to them correctly and systematically. Our license is simply, for them, it's a simple transfer. So we're not looking for a new license, we're just looking for a new address. So all the existing regulations stand as if we were still, the same entity in this county and within the city. So it's really if you were to have a 3-year review, that would be something that we would honour and do, obviously. But our existing license doesn't change.
I guess that's what I'm trying to clarify because the last approval we had with you all, I believe, was August 15th of 2023. So if we stick with the 3-year term, that would expire next August.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the county, yeah. For us to continue to be authorised by the county.
Commissioner Richards?
So just to clarify
Mhm.
for me, because I just haven't had the time to review this as much as I'd like. This is simply a change of address, references the old resolution, and everything in the old resolution is still intact.
Mhm.
John, would you agree? Is that?
Yeah, if that's how you wanted to word the resolution, the current resolution doesn't make any reference, Commissioner Richards. And so I think as the chairman has identified, today is clarifying your questions. And I think with the direction that you're identifying, Commissioner Richards, that could certainly be incorporated into the resolution. And I guess I would just add that I think there are 2 locations, one in Rock Springs, one in Green River.
Mhm.
And so I'm not sure what the time frame is on both of the satellite locations, meaning are they both, what are the timeframes that have been permitted by you as a board, not just for the Uinta satellite facility, but for the Elk Street. So I don't know if both of those will be addressed in a resolution or if just one will be addressed in the resolution that you choose.
And Mr. Chairman, I think that's kind of my concern with what I'm reading here. This seems to be an approval all on its own, does not reference a 3-year timeframe, which has been our precedent over the last few years on how we deal with these. So I think it's important that we work with council and make sure this language meets our expectations.
And as a company and as an operator here, we're more than happy to fit in with your rules. If your time frame is a 3-yearly review, or permission, that's fine by us.
And Mr. Chairman, what I think I hear you and Commissioner Richards identifying together is that the goal would be to coincide the permit, the county permit, with the permit provided by the commission, the gaming commission. So this permit would continue for 1 year. That way it would coincide with the continuation of the permit that goes along with the commission. And then the term that applies to the Elk Street, the Rock Springs location would also be identified and then included in any resolution.
Okay.
So I could certainly meet with these folks and get both of those for next week or next week for the agenda, so that you have that on a future resolution. Am I hearing that correctly?
I believe so, yeah.
Would a motion to table this to the next meeting be appropriate, or?
You certainly can. You don't have to take action. I think as the chairman identified, the thought process originally was that today was going to be an update, that the actual action item would be presented at the next meeting. And so if you wanted to make a motion to table or postpone, you certainly could, but you also, I think the original intent was for today to be informative in nature, with a follow-up for the next meeting.
Yeah, I think we'll stick with the original plan just because that's what I've kind of relayed to everyone else after we met. So I think
Works for us.
you've answered a
Absolutely.
lot of our questions. We certainly appreciate you coming over and appreciate the relationship we've had. The grounds look phenomenal out there, and you can tell a lot of the improvements and money that, has been driven from that relationship are paying off. So it's a good partnership and we appreciate it. We just want to make sure we got everything buttoned up on the back end as far as the resolution goes. So we'll work with you over the next week and a half here and get ready for seeing you back here in a couple weeks, if that works. Unless anyone else
Absolutely.
has any other comments or questions.
My concern is the gaming addiction. How do you participate in the funding for that?
We are very active in working with the Gaming Commission on that. In our previous lives, I've been in gaming and hospitality in hotels for 50 years, believe it or not. Hard to believe, but we were instrumental in several states, including Kentucky. When I first came to live in the US, it was because I was one of the investing partners in Kentucky Downs. And we actually were very active with the Kentucky Racing Commission in introducing problematic gaming. Problematic gaming is it's a problem, okay, and we recognize that. It's not a huge percentage. It's much less than 1%, 0.03%, I think. The national statistics. Contrary to the films and all the other kind of dramatic stuff that you see, it's not good for us to have problem gamers. It's not. It's like saying I'm a bar owner and it's great to have a lot of alcoholics. It's not a good mix. So we train our people. We look for people that show obvious signs of stress while they're playing. For example, repeat trips to the ATM, erratic behavior, etc. And, we are very conscious that we need to be participating with the authorities, in our case, the Gaming Commission, and we do. So it's not something we take lightly. It's something we recognize. It's something we train our staff for.
Thank you.
And sorry, I should add, I do apologize. I should add, we have an exclusion policy that if somebody self-bars, they self-bar. And if they come back the very next day and say, look, sorry, I was a bit crazy, the self-bar stays in place. And even a family member, if it's proven, even a family member can request let a family member get self-barred.
Yeah, I just know of some people who've destroyed their lives.
Oh, yeah, 100%. As I say, I've been in this business 50 years, and it's not a fallacy that it happens, but it is, believe it or not, very minor, but not to the person that gets affected.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioners?
Mr. Hughes, just thank you. I don't see a problem finding a way forward. I just want to make sure the language is correct. So I look forward to seeing a couple weeks with
Thank you.
something we can all agree on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioners. And we're happy to work within your timelines as always.
Very good. Thanks for
Thank you
coming over
very
this morning.
much. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Pete. That's going to move us right along to item number 3 under tab B, which is the introduction of school district number 2 Superintendent Scott Cooper. Good morning, Mr. Superintendent.
Hello, good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself. Very excited to be here, very honored to be here. I'm the new superintendent, obviously, with the school district here. And I just want to share a little bit about my background so you have some of that in your repertoire there. I come from the western slope of Colorado most recently, where I've led small districts and large districts like Mesa County 51, Grand Junction's rather large, and Little Dolores down in the southwest corner. I've also led career technical education programs for multiple districts across the western slope and dozens of schools, fleshing out construction programs, auto mechanics, aviation programs, and the like. A lot of fun work, and I think that's what attracted the board here too during their selection process. It was a lot of that career technical education, work-based learning experience that I have from my past. I've also led schools in urban, kind of affluent areas like Durango and very rural areas like Window Rock School District in the Navajo Reservation. And I also have been a special ed teacher in Cortez and a classroom teacher as well and a substitute teacher all back in the late 90s and the beginning of the 2000s. So all of that experience collates to today. And I'm very excited to bring all that here and share that with this district and this community. This community is amazing. That was a big selling point on behalf of my research when I was looking at school districts and possibilities of making a move up this direction. Very strong community here, very warm and welcoming. It's been wonderful experience for my wife and I. I just got to tell you, that's very, very vital for successful school systems, is to have the strong community support. And I'm very, very thankful that that's in place here. When you have strong communities and a strong school system, the kids benefit immensely. Great outcomes for the kids, great opportunities. Part of my 90-day entry plan, which I initiated back, I delivered it back in March during the interview process, but it really kicks off in the spring through the summer and this early part of the fall and the start of the school year. Big part of it is a lot of communication and a lot of reaching out and just making these introductions to all the stakeholders in the community. So again, I thank you for this time just to share out a little bit about myself. And I just want to make sure that we have just clear lines of communication. That's a big part of my work in this role. I know that I can be very successful in this role and successful for our school district if I keep these lines of communications very open and fluid, and I could report on a quarterly basis or maybe twice a year or once a year, whatever you prefer, or if something's coming up and you have questions and concerns, you can reach out to me anytime and I can come forward and deliver a report on some of the work that we're doing with the students in the school district and throughout our community. So reach out anytime. I don't have any business cards. I apologize for that. I've been asking for some of those to be produced, and they're coming along. But what we have done is we've revamped our website, so there's clear links in there. It makes it real easy to connect with the superintendent's office. All of my contacts and information's in there, so you can reach out to me anytime. If you send me an email or if you send a voicemail, it automatically goes to my email. It links to my phone, so I can get back to you very quickly. I'm going to hang out during the break here too. If anybody would like my cell phone number, I'll give that out, of course, as well, just so you have very quick communication as needed. The other thing we did to boost communication on our website is we created on the board link a giant hyperlink that says watch live now or watch board meeting live now, because I found it was a little bit challenging to watch a live board meeting. You had to go through 3 or 4 steps to get into the actual live Zoom of the meeting. Now you go to the board link, and at the very top, there's a big link, especially during those board meeting nights that we have once a month, and sometimes some additional meetings as well, trying to boost communication for our community to be very well connected with our school board and also with our district at large. Communication is one of our huge, important pillars of our strategic plan. We had a great retreat, the board and I, just a couple of weeks ago, talking about mainly their vision for the future of the school district. And a lot of what came up was around maintaining good communication and even enhancing our communication skills from the district out to the community to make sure that all of our messaging is getting out there and that all of our initiatives are being well explained. And there's a lot of follow-up with any questions or concerns or suggestions. So that's going to be a big part of my work, especially this first year, as I'm reaching out to all the stakeholders across the community and trying to make those connections and establishing those lines of communication. Let's see here. Oh, first day of school is coming up here real soon. You probably all know about that, right? August 20th. I'm very excited about this. For me, this has been about a 5-month anticipation long event for me, as from back in March when I was initially selected for this role, thinking ahead to this very first day of school and all that goes into the work. We were training up our new teachers yesterday, had a full day of professional development today. I got to welcome our substitutes as they came back. They were down at our central office today, getting trained up and prepared. Next week, we have all of our teachers returning, and we have extensive, deep learning opportunities for all of our teachers. We have new curriculum coming on board for all the elementaries and our middle school. Houghton Mifflin, the HMH series, it's a language arts and math, very well vetted, very popular basal curriculum that's utilized in several districts across the nation, and it's a good foundational base of just learning tools for teachers to begin their lessons with, make sure that we're meeting all of our state standards, and then they can they can expand from there and be creative from there as teachers are to make the lessons even more engaging. This will just help provide some equity across our elementary schools. So if a student's moving from school to school or what have you, it won't be a big learning shift, and they'll be able to seamlessly move right into the next lesson, even if they move to a different school, because we'll have some similar curriculums across all of our schools. Just thinking, what else? Contact info, I already told you about all that. If you have some questions now, I'd be happy to answer them. Or I'll be around during the break if you want to just meet up one-on-one. That's perfectly fine as well.
Well, thanks, Superintendent Cooper. We appreciate you reaching out and coming to introduce yourself, and certainly congratulations on the new role and for opening that door of communication. Anything we can do to partner together is always welcome by this governing body. And there's obviously, some collaboration among different struggles and needs, and it doesn't always have to be the struggles either. It can be the successes. So we appreciate that. I'm glad to hear you've got a strong background in CTE. I can't express how much that the importance of vocational trades are needed around here. And it seems like it kind of goes up and down the different districts with participation or funding or whatever it is, but we need that. I mean, that's kind of what's built a lot of this community. And so I'm happy to hear that.
We have some good, on that line, we have some good work planned for expanding our career technical education foundational learning opportunities and the physical structure at the high school. And then not too distant future, you're going to hear more about that. And we're scaling out our work-based learning initiatives across the community, working with the Southwest Manufacturing Partnership Coalition and others to make sure that our students have work experience opportunities throughout the community while they're still in high school. So they can graduate with industry credentials and their diploma and a job opportunity, and or they can continue on to WWCC and continue on with higher ed. So yeah, we're going to be scaling out a lot of that work this year. I'm very excited about that. We've pulled in some grants recently, even over the summer, some fresh grants to help fund even more expansion in that area.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Comments, commissioners?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the community, and certainly good luck on August 20th.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for coming over. That's going to take us to item number 4 under tab B, commissioners, which is the Sweetwater County Public Salary Disclosure. Joining us this morning is Clerk Lane. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Pursuant to Wyoming Statute 18-3-516B, publication of name, position, actual wages, and amount of overtime paid Pay paid to each full-time employee and each elected official must be published in our local newspaper. So I have presented our full-time employees from last year. Some look rather small because they started maybe in June or earlier, a little bit earlier. But we must put this in the newspaper. So if this is approved today, I will get that published by the end of August.
Very good. Thanks, Clerk Glenn. Commissioner Richards?
Chair, just to clarify, this is fiscal year 25 wages, is that, or?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 Sweetwater County, Wyoming public salary disclosure as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, sounds like a second from Commissioner Tillman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Just note that the county commissioners are the lowest paid employees in the county. But I am the highest paid commissioner because I get taxed on my mileage.
Motion is unanimous, and I believe Commissioner Jones and I are the lowest paid commissioners, so throw that out there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clerk Lane. Appreciate it. That's going to take us to a break. We fell behind by about 6 minutes there, but next item is an update from two of our own at 10:20. So let's take about a 10-minute break. We'll try and get back here about 10:25.
Oh, we got, it's been like this for weeks.
Call this meeting back to order. We left off at item number 6, which is the recap of the visit to the Idaho National Laboratory. Joining us today is Land Use Director Bingham, as well as Commissioner Richards, obviously.
And then also to include with that is Treasurer Cowan, who also went with us. So he will also be jumping in on some of the discussion. So kind of just really brief, we could sit here for hours talking about how incredible that visit was to INL. And just like Commissioner Richards stated earlier this morning in his comments, if you have a chance to go, I would highly recommend that you go because it'll blow you away literally when you go there and see. You have this, everyone kind of has a little bit of a perception and maybe stereotype of what radioactive material is and the dangers of that and and storage and casks and stuff and things like that. And once you go there and you actually see the reality of things and how safe this technology is, it really is eye-opening when you go there. And, there was a lot of elected officials there from around the state, including representatives from Western Wyoming College. Ron Wild was there for Pacific Corps. It was, you just saw a lot of eye-opening moments with a lot of those elected leaders just seeing how incredible this technology is. What I've got up on the screen, and I'm just going to go through this and have Commissioner Richards and Treasurer Cowan join in on, is some of the economic opportunities that this stuff can provide, and just maybe brief stuff in our visit that was just incredible. When I went up there, didn't know what to expect. It was 2 days, it's cram packed. I mean, it's actually a day and a half that you have. And 1 day is a tour. You start at 7 in the morning and basically, I don't know, we got back 7. So it's 12 hours of just instruction, information, and then going out on site because you have to travel quite a ways to go out from the actual INL administrative buildings to actually the sites where they have the advanced nuclear reactor. And we did get to stood right in front of the advanced nuclear reactor. And just amazing how safe it really is. So anyway, I want to show you just really briefly some of the economic impacts that they presented to us. And INL stands for Idaho National Laboratory, federally funded mostly. And you can see the huge economic impact that has on Idaho, 4.29 billion. So it's a huge economic impact. What was incredible about it is when you look at the average salary for, I think it was 5,000 plus employees that are there, $120,000. And so that includes, your PhD, nuclear physicists to your technicians. So your average salary is $120,000 a year if you work at INL. And then they have incredible benefits that go along with that. But with that, when you have one job, it produces 2 to 3 jobs on top of that to support that, which is in Idaho Falls. So this just kind of shows you advanced opportunities in the economy and the communities. I'm going to kind of go through these and then the overview of opportunities. Wyoming is part of the consortium with this, and which is good. University of Wyoming, which I'll go into a little bit. But as we know, we have resources here. We have uranium here. We have a Uranium Institute mining opportunity that's north of Wamsutter. And, that provides yellow cake. And also the other thing is the power plants and the coal fire plants that we have here in Wyoming and the transmission lines and such, and then Terra Power. So did you have something you want to add, Mark? Go ahead.
The other thing too that they mentioned is Wyoming is 2 years ahead of almost any other state in the union as far as nuclear. We have a political environment, and we've structured our environment so that we are a place that nuclear can look, which is why we've announced in Wyoming, they've announced 4 different nuclear projects and no other state has. And so our political climate in Wyoming has been very proactive at attracting this nuclear work.
Yeah. Anything you want to add on to
that? Just that when we talk about nuclear, we consistently talk about spent nuclear rods, but nuclear is a very broad and diverse supply chain that starts with the uranium that's mined here, but doesn't end with a reactor. There's all of the after support, and most of the nuclear industry isn't nuclear physicists. It's tradesmen, it's craftsmen. Most of the support for the nuclear industry are welders and boilermakers. They're people with the trades and skills that we are already developing here in Wyoming, which is why you'll see in the future nuclear reactors trying to locate near existing power plants, because the nuclear reactor is only a very small part of that process. The electricity is still created by steam. And all of that is separate from the actual nuclear reaction. The advantage there, and I'm sure we cover later, is all of those tradesmen need to upgrade their skills to be nuclear certified, which takes the current trade skill set in your area, raises it, and raises the market salaries for those very same people. And University of Wyoming, and in the future, Western Wyoming, will be partnering with Idaho National Laboratories to provide those certifications and the additional skill sets that people will need to compete in those arenas.
Yeah, and if you just to kind of go off that and in here, just on the economic opportunities, it's a good segue because there are 6 components to the nuclear fuel cycle that you see up there. So the first is the extraction. Okay. Then you have the enrichment process. And then you have the reactor construction and deployment. And then you got the spent fuel storage. And then also some of that fuel is repurposed. So I don't know if you want to add anything more.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was impressive about this was they said that with the current technology for nuclear, they're able to actually reutilize some of the spent nuclear fuel that they're storing, so they can get the reactor running with new fuel, and then they can actually start feeding it with old fuel. So there's actually a use for the old nuclear fuel that's being stored right now. I did see also during the Minerals Committee last week, there's 180,000 metric tons of nuclear storage in the United States. Currently, it's all stored on site where those reactors are built. And that's what happens currently, is you sign an agreement with the Department of Energy if you build a nuclear facility that you will store that material on site for so long. And then after a certain period, the Department of Energy says, we'll take it. We'll take ownership of that. They haven't taken ownership of that because there isn't a nuclear repository that's been developed in the United States. They were trying at Yucca Mountain, and that never happened. And President Trump has said, we're not going to do Yucca Mountain. And so that repository doesn't exist. They're spending billions of dollars. They're paying the U.S. government is paying billions of dollars for that nuclear waste to be stored on site at these decommissioned nuclear facilities. So there's some tremendous opportunities with that nuclear waste because it can be used. They're finding uses for it. And also the new reactors are not creating the nuclear waste that the old reactors did. It's much smaller. They say that the nuclear, like a typical nuclear reactor for the Radiance building, I think they said it's like 20 grams is what it takes to run for 5 years. So.
Yeah, and when we were up there and we were actually touring around, we actually went into the area where they store nuclear waste, because just as Treasurer Cowan stating that they do have to store it on site wherever your nuclear reactor is. So, and there's no repository in the United States. So we didn't get the opportunity, but we've heard of, but we were right next to the storage. No need to wear any protection or anything, no radiation exposure. And so when you're there and you actually see it, you can actually stand and put your hand on the cask. And there's even, and how they test these casks, one of them, I think they stated they took a locomotive and hit it with a locomotive, and literally it just pushed it off the track is what it did. So that's how safe these are constructed. Anything you want to add, Commissioner?
Yeah, to be certified for storage, the casks have to go through 4 specific tests. One is dropped from a crane lengthways. One is dropped from a crane so it lands cornerways. One, it is set on fire. And one, it is submerged to make sure it doesn't leak. And that's not a test per cask. That's one cask has to go through all of those tests And if there's any cracking or failure, then they have to start over. They're very, very secure. It was amazing to see the technology change from our perception. I mean, we probably all have the perception of Homer Simpson and his nuclear waste storage in 55-gallon drums leaking out. That's just not the reality. It's solid fuel encased in concrete to shield radiation, and it's very, very safe. I mean, we stood next to a nuclear reactor while they were pulling fuel rods out, and everybody was sitting around in jeans and polos, and nobody feels unsafe in it. It's not what you think it is. When you think
Yeah.
nuclear power,
That's true.
it's really not what you think it is.
And just to talk about that a little bit, when you're a little bit nervous. I mean, I was a little bit nervous, and you walk in there and everybody's just in regular clothes and just name tags, and that's it. And basically wearing paper suits, the ones that were actually up pulling the fuel rods, no masks, nothing. And I don't know, it just changes your perception. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that one thing that we really have to do a lot of work on is what advanced nuclear is today. The reactors that they're building today are completely different than what reactors that you see in 3 Mile Island maybe, or Fukushima. These are reactors that are built in sodium, and they can turn off the reactor in a split second. There's no chance for a runaway reaction like there is, in those reactors. They had to cool them with water. And if that water inflow stopped, which happened during, a hurricane, or which happened during a earthquake or something like that, those are major problems. But in these reactors, they don't have to have that. Those systems don't have to be in place. So the reactor just shuts down. They have instances where they just turned off and walked away from the reactor. Like the controller died, they just walked away from it and let it do its thing, and the reactor stops on its own. So they have to proactively be there operating the reactor for it to work. And then the fuel is a little bit different too. They call it triso fuel. It's little pellets. It kind of rotates in and out. And if that process stops, then the reaction stops as well. So there is a lot of education that needs to happen with nuclear and what's happening now. And I think that's kind of the point of this interaction with Idaho National Labs and inviting the people out, was to start the education process. And hopefully we can do that.
So the US EDA does have tech hub programs, which I believe Wyoming is a part of. What that does is opens up opportunities for funding. And then right there, you see Western Wyoming College. I believe when Dr. Dale was here, she actually got an opportunity to go out there and design now. Just so you know, also Dr. Libby was with us from Sweetwater County School District #1. Forgot to mention that. They're on tribal lands there in Idaho Falls, so they work very closely with them. Very good relationship there. And nuclear can bring lasting jobs to a plant for 40 to 80 years. I mean, just think about that. The huge economic impact with that. And then just as Commissioner Richards was stating, there was an overlap in jobs types and techniques, and that's in education levels. And there is an overlap that with welders and such like that. The biggest thing is certifications and such like that. And that's why they're working with, our community colleges and the University of Wyoming with that. Very important partnership there. So current nuclear workforce is starting to retire. So just as with COVID, as we've seen in the workforce, there is concerns about workforce, just I think with everything actually, as far as refilling those jobs. And then building Wyoming's nuclear workforce, University of Wyoming, projected job growth for TerraPower is projected to add 1,600 jobs. So just to show you the impact that TerraPower is going to have. And Wyoming's legacy and future in uranium mining and new reactor initiatives, leveraging existing skills with Wyoming skills workforce and projected tax revenue, electricity production taxes, just endless. I don't know if there's anything you want to add there. No, okay. One thing I want to talk about is also the STEM program that they had there that was very interesting. That's what we spent most of Wednesday talking about, where K through 12 and the programs that they're having there and developing. They actually have a camp that's a highly competitive camp. It's actually, I think it was a lottery system they set up that that so many kids want to go to, and that grows the workforce in that nuclear field. And if anything, just exposes them and to the education with that. And it's a highly competitive program, but it's very, very sought after. So the other thing is they have a STEM trailer. That was one thing that they take around to different locations, potential having at the fair maybe, where it's very hands-on and very informational, where kids can actually go in there and adults and actually go in there and very interactive, learn more about nuclear technology. So if you guys want to add anything, the workforce stuff. But it was an incredible experience, and just the economic opportunities that what we saw in that cycle system, and where do we fit in that in Sweetwater County. I think what's important here moving forward is we just want to at least open the conversation now and start it and continue that conversation is the important thing. And one of the most important things is information and getting that to the public so that they truly understand what this technology is. And I think that's something that we could spearhead. So.
Yeah, I think, Commissioner, one of the broader parts of this discussion is the fact that having served on economic development along with you, Chairman, we know that there's a lack of power in our community to support economic development. In order to grow our community, the only way we can do that is to start looking at power. We're going to have some strong leadership, and we're going to have to take advantage of the opportunities that come to us to create power to attract businesses to our community. And whether that's nuclear or whether that's new clean coal technology, I don't know what that is, but nobody's going to come in here and do it for us. I think Kemmer is very fortunate to have TerraPower set up down there. I think they got a great opportunity because of their location that they were in. But I think for us, we really need to have some advanced discussions about how do we as a community either go after some kind of nuclear plant, go after some kind of clean coal plant, but we need to start talking about it because our electricity generation is not enough to support growth. And it's also going to start to fall off, as this power plant falls offline. And so I think this is just part of that broader discussion, educating the community about what is possible and maybe what could benefit the growth of our community.
Want to add one thing to that, just as Treasurer Cowan had stated that, and I've spoken with business recruitment manager with the Wyoming Business Council and such, and we are missing out on business leads because of the lack of power. So that is why some of the reasons why we're not receiving the business leads that we used to is the lack of power. So it is a big issue. So.
I just want to add, can you go back to that slide on the nuclear cycle?
Yes.
So the nuclear cycle starts with mining, which we already have in Sweetwater County. And once the uranium is pulled from the ground, it needs to be converted, which they gasify it, turn it into a fuel. Then it needs to be enriched. Under the old light water reactor technology, it was enriched to about 5% of the 255 isotope. Under the new technologies, they need to enhance it to just under 20. I believe 19.75% is the goal. Above 20 becomes weaponization, so they got to keep it under 20. Then after enrichment, it goes to fuel manufacture, where they take that enriched uranium and convert it into a fuel type form, whether that's TRISO, whether that's a liquid metal form. And then it goes into a reactor. So reactor is a small part of that whole cycle. That reactor works with steam technology to create electricity just the old-fashioned way. Creates creates steam, that the water used in that steam is never exposed to nuclear power. It's never irradiated. It's a completely separate system, but it's same basis as coal-fired electricity. You're using heat to create steam, to create electricity. But then comes the really controversial part of the nuclear power cycle, and that is what do you do with the spent nuclear rods? And currently, as I said, all of those are stored on site of the reactors. At INL, actually, all of the waste from 3 Mile Island is stored there at the Idaho National Laboratory, and we drove right through it. It looks really boring. It's just a big bunch of concrete things. And what they really wanted to get us on board with was realizing that becoming part of the nuclear economy does not mean adopting all parts of that spectrum. It's one or all of those parts of the spectrum, and it is each community's responsibility to have a discussion and decide which parts of that cycle they want to be a part of, if they want to be part of it at all. Now, I'm not advocating that we pursue spent fuel storage in Sweetwater County. If we had a reactor, we would have storage here because all that storage would be on site. But there's also that's the short-term storage. There's mid-term storage. They're looking for places to hold this for 40 to 50 years. And then they're looking for a national repository where they would hold it forever. When they put things in a short-term repository, that opens the door to recycling, because that's another part of the nuclear cycle, is recycling of old fuels. Creates its own economic offshoot. And again, I'm not advocating that we pursue any one portion, but just on the spent rods portion alone, there is $200 billion sitting in an account looking to be spent on a community that invites this. If we're going to say no, I'm okay with saying no, but we need to say no because we have completely educated ourselves on all the risks and the rewards and make an educated decision. We shouldn't be saying no out of fear. We surely should not be saying no based on misinformation. And every time I pull up the news or social media, I'm seeing misinformation on what the nuclear cycle is. It's way safer. And yes, there were times in our history that it wasn't, but a lot of those times were before OSHA even existed. There's never been a life lost due to a meltdown in the United States. It's a very safe industry. I guarantee you more lives are lost in our legacy energy industries than are being lost in the nuclear industry. And you'll see a lot of people say, talking about the TerraPower plant, they used to say natrium isn't tested. We can't have that here. It's not tested. Well, we stood over the Advanced Test Nuclear Reactor where they spent years testing natrium. It is truly tested. So what they'll say now is it hasn't been proven in a commercial setting. So they've changed their message because they're wrong about it not being tested. But it hasn't been proven in a commercial situation because in America, we haven't commercialized nuclear in 4 decades. Back in the early 90s, President Clinton put a stop to the commercialization of nuclear, and we kind of went into a time freeze while the rest of the world continued to commercialize. We've still been testing. Our national laboratories have still continued to advance nuclear research, to test nuclear power. America's nuclear technology is beyond any other countries, but as soon as we create it, China and Russia steal it and commercialize it. If we don't start commercializing it, we simply lose. We're already losing, but if we don't get into the business of commercializing our nuclear energy, we lose. What China is doing is taking our technologies, they are selling them to third world countries in exchange for 100 years of loyalty. We'll provide you nuclear power if you become a Chinese ally and And we're missing the boat on that as a country. And right here in Sweetwater County, we can make a difference by exploring our opportunities with eyes wide open, make sure that we know all of the information. And if the answer at the end of those discussions is no, I am absolutely okay with that. But we can't say no until we have all the information.
I agree, Commissioner. If I might add one more thing, there is a uranium mine in Carbon County, and our businesses in Sweetwater County are servicing that uranium mine. So we do have nuclear work that is happening in our community already. And so it's vital that we start this education component and that we start having these discussions, because like Commissioner Richards said, if we're going to make this decision, it needs to be an educated decision, and we need to go all the way in to figure that out and not just shun it without a complete understanding of what it means to our community.
Well, a couple of years ago, you know, our in situ mine at Bear Oil, they expanded 100 to 150,000 additional acres for the in situ mining of the uranium. And I don't know how many acres were in the original.
I don't
plot.
remember, but
It was a lot.
was, and because we went through a zone change process for that. As a lot of it's been market issues is why things have been kind of on hold there. So, but yeah, that
When we went to NACO, though, the legislative conference in February, we did that side tour and we went to the Nuclear Energy Commission, and they were giving us a hard sell, throwing the money out there to ask people to
Well,
step up and become the depository.
yeah.
Commissioner, one of the messages we got from the Department of Energy is they are not interested in putting any of this in communities that don't want it, because there is enough communities out there that are competing for it. So when you see somebody saying the feds are going to force this on us, they're not. There's other people that are competing for it. We have the opportunity to be proactive and pick and choose the parts of that nuclear cycle that we want to be a part of, and set the terms of what we get out of it economically.
That's what we have, Mr. Chairman.
Well, very good. Very, very informative and interesting. I wish I could have made the trip. I'm glad you all were able to get up there and get educated on it. You're right. I mean, we've had these conversations for the last few years with all the activity and interest of coming to Sweetwater. We've lost other potential because of the grid. You know, a lot of the in situ mining is looking into cogen and, you know, other areas to make a go at it. So I think it's certainly worth looking into more, and I'd be open to becoming more educated on it. Certainly an area I'm not too up to speed on. Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's probably getting pretty repetitive here, but thanks for bringing this information. I think the key is to get that out there. I mean, the money is great, and to dangle those carrots is all fine and dandy, but you know, the safety concern, I think, is what has got so many people scared, whether it's right or wrong or perceived or sounds like it's probably not accurate. I don't know enough about it to make that call right now, but I do hope that we have the ability to make our own decisions. I see the legislature become very heavy-handed and some pretty serious government overreach and wanting to eliminate local control. And as Commissioner Richards just mentioned, some communities are fighting for this and some don't want it. It should be up to the communities, I think, rather than some folks sitting in Cheyenne who think they know better but don't talk to us to find out what the facts are. So I just hope that we have that ability and our local control is not removed, like appears to be the path we're on. So I'm certainly interested to find out more and learn more, in particular on the safety side of things. That's going to be the hardest sell, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, when we were there, INL did state that they would be willing to come and do a presentation. So maybe that's something we can look at the future.
I was just going to ask. Yeah, I think that'd be beneficial. Any other questions or comments? Well, thanks for recapping that with us and bringing us up to speed. We'll look into bringing those guys down if they're available in the next coming months and try and continue to be more engaged and educated on it. So thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Next on the list, I'm not doing a very good job of keeping us on task today. We fell behind by about 30 minutes here, so thanks to those that have stayed with us. We've got item number 7, which is an opioid prescribing in Sweetwater County, the Billion Pill Pledge Program. I believe we're supposed to have the COO of Goldfinch Health, Mr. John Greenwood. Are you with us online?
So, hi, good morning. My name's Patrick Madigan. I'm with Goldfinch Health. Mr. Greenwood is on vacation with his family this week, and so he asked me to step in for him today.
No problem. Well, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you very much. Yes, so we appreciate your time this morning, and we are here to talk about preventing opioid addiction, and in particular, the problem of prescription opioid pills. And with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and share some slides as I go through this. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. So yes, so we are the Billion Pill Pledge, and you may say, well, where does that name come from? And every year after surgery, there are 3 billion opioid pills left over after surgery in America. I'm going to say that again, 3 billion with a B. And lots of bad things happen with those pills. And so what is the prescribing rate look like in the state of Wyoming? In Wyoming, there are 43 opioid prescriptions per every 100 persons. And so this is the number of prescriptions, not the number of pills. And that puts Wyoming as a state as the 18th highest prescribing state in the United States. Unfortunately, the rate in Sweetwater County is quite a bit higher. The rate in Sweetwater County is 73.8 opioid prescriptions for every 100 persons. That means 3 out of 4 people in Sweetwater County on average have an opioid prescription. This is 71.6% above the already high Wyoming statewide average. I did a little bit of math, and I used an estimate of 40 pills per prescription, which is not an aggressive assumption. And I came up with 1.2 million opioid pills flowed into Sweetwater County in 2023. That is a lot of opioid pills for a county of your size, of your population. So why are we concerned about this? Sometimes you will hear people, when they talk about the opioid crisis, they will say, well, okay, the problem started with prescription opioids, but that's not a problem any longer. And that is just simply not true. There was a study that came out in just May of this year in a publication called JAMA, where they looked at people who are using illicit opioids. So they're using opioids that are not prescribed to them, that they're not supposed to be using. And they looked at where did they get their first exposure. And 75% of those people using illicit opioids started with a prescription opioid. Either one that was prescribed to them, they were the patient, or a diverted pill. It was prescribed to somebody else. And so why do we focus on surgery? We focus on surgery because we know that that is the number one pathway by which opioid naive patients, so that means people who are not currently using opioids, become exposed to opioids. And we know that statistically, 6 to 9% of those people are going to become opioid dependent. This is, quite frankly, unacceptable. So healthcare should never be the source of new addiction, yet it happens all of the time, and it happens every day. And so our mission is to stop that. The other just point here on this slide is that in the Medicaid population, it's even worse. 30% of patients develop an opioid dependency following their first prescription. This is a study that came out of Stanford last year. And it also found that the greatest indicator of people becoming opioid dependent was not how much pain they were in, was not what procedure they received. It was the quantity and duration of their opioid prescription. How many were you given and for how long? So, so that's a description of the problem, and please stop me at any point if you have questions or comments. And so I'm gonna skip ahead here just a little bit to, okay, so what is our program? What do we do? What is the Billion Pill Pledge program? This is a program that is in existence. It's not a theoretical concept. We've taken thousands of patients through this program, and it's funded by opioid settlement dollars. And we currently have programs in Iowa, Nebraska, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Dakota, and the city of Mobile, Alabama. These are all places where we are currently operating. And our program has, the way I like to describe it is it's a table with four legs. And so the first leg is what we call academic detailing. And so there is an entire generation of medical providers who were incorrectly taught that opioids were not addictive. So we're talking doctors, pharmacists, nurses, etc. Our co-founder is a pharmacist by trade. I should mention I'm in Des Moines, Iowa right now today. And I should also mention I've actually been to Sweetwater County. I spent the night one night with my family in Rock Springs when we were doing a Wyoming-based vacation. So I have been to your community. But our CEO and co-founder remembers the day where he was taught incorrectly that opioids are not addictive. The damage from that fraud, and it was a fraud, remains because these providers are still out there in the medical community, and they are still overprescribing opioids. And so we take people and we send them into the hospitals where they meet with the hospital executives, they meet with the surgeons, they meet with the nurses, they meet with the staff, and they teach them about something called enhanced surgical pathways, or ERAS. And what that means basically is that people think that they have a Hobson's choice when it comes to pain management around surgery. They think that they either have to take opioids, where they might become one of the statistics, the 6 to 9% who become addicted, or they think they have to suck it up and endure pain. When in reality, there's a third option, which is there are many non-opioid methods of effectively treating pain. And that is what our people who go to the hospitals advocate for. And why you care about that as a county is fewer of your citizens become addicted to opioids. Opioid addiction is, in addition to being a human tragedy, and what happens to that individual and their family is very expensive. There was a study that attempted to quantify what were the lifetime costs of one case of opioid addiction. And using 2017 numbers, they came up with $221,000 in lifetime costs. So that's everything. That's medical costs, judicial costs, law enforcement costs, social services costs, lack of productivity, etc. That's a very expensive proposition. So step number one is go directly to the hospitals, directly engage with the medical providers, find out what their practices are, and try to effectuate change as necessary and appropriate. Step number two is, and this is unique to us, is we have nurses, and they are actual nurses, they are RNs, who support those patients through their surgery remotely by talk and text. This is really critical because the current model is you have your surgery, you're given 50 opioids, and they say, come back in 2 weeks. There's no support, there's no follow-up, and our nurses give them someone to talk to, ask questions, learn about the dangers of opioids, get on effective pain management. Our third leg of our table is this. This is our Prepared for Surgery toolkit. The Prepared for Surgery toolkit is filled with items that are designed to so you have less pain, less complications, a faster recovery, consequently far less opioids. So that's what all of these things are. And then I'm going to, there, if you see this bag here in the right corner, that's called a Deterra bag. That's really important because that's safe at-home disposal of your opioids. So it's not only the people who are prescribed the opioids who become addicted, but many of those pills, because of overprescribing, then they're stored in a medicine cabinet at home. Three things happen to those pills. They start a new addiction. They fuel an existing addiction, whether that's with a family member, a friend who's visiting, a worker who's in your home. And most tragically, opioids are the #1 cause of fatal childhood poisoning in America. And so every patient gets one of these toolkits. And then last is analyze and report. We're a very data-driven organization. And our nurses will call the patients and they will interview them after their surgery. How many opioids were you prescribed? How many did you use? Did you use your Deterra bag to get the opioids out of your house? Were you readmitted to the hospital, et cetera, et cetera? These data points are currently not available to the vast majority of medical providers. They know how many opioids are prescribed. That's how I was able to tell you about your opioid prescribing rate of 73.8 per 100, but the rest of it is kind of a black hole, and we try to shine a light on that black hole. And I'll tell you just a really quick story that demonstrates the power of this. So in Iowa, which is where I am, that's where the original pilot program was. We had a hospital that said, this is great, we're going to do this, but we're not going to change our opioid prescribing. And they had a standing order that every person who had a surgery left with 50 opioids, which is a lot. And so they had 10 people, 50 opioids, 500 opioids. When our nurses interviewed those patients, they had combined taken a collective 6 opioid pills because they went through our program. So there were 494 opioid pills sitting in that community waiting for bad things to happen. There was a collective gasp in the room when we told them this, and they changed their practices. It's that real world data, that feedback on real world opioid utilization that actually gets the change in the medical community. So what are our results? This is what we've been able to show: a 60% reduction in post-surgery opioid prescribing. That's just the number of pills. How many are you given? The second one is really important, which is a 92% reduction in the opioid refill rate. If you get prescribed 50 pills and you take those or most of those, that's not great. But if you're refilling that, getting a refill, getting a second bottle, you're really headed down the wrong road. So we really try to emphasize that the providers not provide refills on their opioid prescriptions. And then the last one has to do with medical costs, which is one of the most expensive things that can happen to your local hospital is if someone be readmitted or come to the ER after their surgery. You can see that nationally there's a 7% benchmark. Patients who go through our program have a fewer than 2%. So that's about saving money in the medical community. One of the things that's really neat that happened with our company is our pilot program in Iowa was actually independently studied, and this has now been published in what's referred to as the JAAOS, or the which is one of the premier medical journals around orthopedics. And they took a look at our program, and you can read for yourself, but what the results of that were. So you don't have to take my word for it. This was an independent look at our program that has been published in a prestigious journal. So the other thing that I'll say, and I know I'm approaching time, is that we not only have the Billion Pill Pledge, but the other thing that we do with counties is we work with them and we offer our program as a health benefit for county employees. And the reason why we do that is because patients who go through our program get back to work 35 days faster on average. And so we had this looked at by this organization called the Validation Institute. They just published this recently. 35 days, that's total days saved, $9 to 1 return on investment. And so Douglas County, Nebraska, which is Omaha, is doing this. Seminole County, Florida, which is a large county right outside of Orlando, is doing this. And so this is a way that some counties choose to support their county employees. And oh, by the way, not only do you get back to work faster, but you don't become addicted to opioids. So I'm gonna take a breath and stop sharing and let you react and ask questions. But that's who we are. That's what we do. We are trying to take our program everywhere that we can across the United States, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this morning.
Well, thank you, Patrick. We appreciate joining the meeting, and sorry for the delay in getting to you there, but very interesting information. Obviously, it's a national crisis. We're dealing with it here, as you can see by your numbers there. If I heard you right at the beginning, those that participate in this program, it's funded through the opioid settlement funds. Is that what I heard?
That is correct. So the billion pill pledge, where we go directly to the hospitals, the way that we have done that is through opioid settlement dollars at the state level and at one city, the city of Mobile, Alabama, as a city has hired us. The other program that I mentioned, where it's an employee health benefit for public employees, that could be paid for with opioid settlement dollars, but counties also just pay for it out of their, however it is that they provide health benefits to their employees.
Sure. No, your timing is good, because we've got an opioid committee that we've recently formed in regards to how to best spend some of those settlement funds. We've been receiving them for, X amount of years, and haven't really been proactive in figuring out a way to put them to use. And so obviously there's lots of strings attached there, and we're investigating that and working our way through that. But we're recently contracted with a local assessment, I shouldn't say local, but an assessment company that's providing a needs assessment. And so, perhaps we might lean on you a little bit for some involvement on there with some of your past success or current success, to see if, there's some potential there. I think it could be two-part. I mean, obviously your goal is to get into the hospital, and we have a memorial hospital. I won't put our liaison on the spot, but I think, there's a few different angles that we may be able to look into and put to use for this ongoing tragedy.
Yeah, and I should mention too, I didn't mention this, but prior to joining Goldfinch Health, I spent 20 years at the Iowa Attorney General's office. And so I'm actually an attorney by training, but that's how I learned about this. I got involved with the opioid issue at the Attorney General's office. And so I'm very familiar with the settlement and how it works and what, the rules around it. And so that's just my background, if that's helpful to you.
So what does it look like moving forward? I mean, if is your next step trying to get into the hospital and meet with the executives, that avenue, or what does it look like?
Yeah, so it can look like in how you want it to look. And so we would be happy to meet with your needs assessment team. We would be happy to meet with other people in your county. It depends on your process. Sometimes there's a formal application process, sometimes there's not. And then we would, collaboratively work with you to make some sort of a proposal to you for, this is what we think we could do in Sweetwater County, right? This is what we think makes sense. And so it's just, and I'm not trying to be evasive, it's just what I found is the process is a little bit different everywhere, right? As we work with these states and counties all across the country.
Very good. Questions, comments, commissioners? Commissioner Jones?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be more than happy to reach out to the hospital, see what we can put together. I won't speak for them, but certainly we'll reach out to them.
Well, that was a lot of good information. We appreciate it. I think we'll be in touch in one form or another, and we've got a couple, I don't know, I spoke on it earlier, but local stakeholder meetings in regards to, some of these opioid funds. So we may reach out to you and get some of your input on that.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. We would love to come to your community.
Well, thanks for providing the information. We may have to follow up with you, but in the meantime, I think it's important to get that information out. So thank you for your time today and for being patient with us.
No problem at all. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right, commissioners, that's going to move us right along to item number 8, which is the requesting approval to submit a fiscal year 2026 CMAQ grant application. Joining us this morning is County Grants Manager Christina Marshall, as well as Assistant Public Works Director Andy Hooten. Good morning to you both. Sorry for the delay.
Okay, good morning, or yeah, still morning. The Public Works Department is requesting permission to submit a fiscal year 2026 congestion mitigation and air quality, or CMAQ, grant application for $353,484 to the Wyoming Department of Transportation. This grant requires a 20% cash match and would need to be completed by December 31st, 2028. You may recall, over the years, the purpose of CMAQ federal funding is to alleviate air quality issues created by energy development and other industrial activity in the vicinity. So if approved, the funding will be used to apply magnesium chloride dust suppressant to various county roads. So the total grant project is estimated to be $441,855. The project would cover 76.82 miles of magnesium chloride to various county roads. And so the grant request would be, again, $353,484, and the county's match portion would be $88,371. Some other notes: the estimated cost per mile is $5,751.82. The required cash match was included in the fiscal year 2026 grant projects budget. In your packet, you have the proposed airways that our Assistant Public Works Director, Andy Hooten, prepared. You have the resolution that needs to be signed, the CMAQ applicant information form, a lobbying certificate, and finally, the Title VI EEO assurances and non-discrimination provisions. And with that, I'm happy to answer any of these questions regarding the grant, or Andy is happy to answer questions about the roads.
Very good. Thanks, Christina. Anything you'd like to add, Andy?
Well, this purpose of this is to address industrial impacted roads, and so we've looked very hard at the road list. You remember last year we got roughly 56% of our asks, so WIDOT is redoing their application and how they go through those questions, and so Christina and I have been working together to make sure Sweetwater County puts its best foot forward on this.
Very good. Questions or comments, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign resolution 25-08-GR-01 and the associated documents for the submission of a fiscal year 2026 CMAQ grant application as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Final item before us this morning on the regular agenda is item number 9, the award of the design and construction observation contract for County Road 1243, Leos Drive, to Enberg Miller Engineers. And joining us is Public Works Director Legursky. Good morning, Gene.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What you have before you is our standard award for design and construction observation for Leos Drive. Leos Drive was not one of those roads that we were expecting to have to do a complete rehabilitation for about 3 years on there. However, recent construction activities, more people moving in, and just heavy truck traffic going into Smith Power and stuff like that, and poor drainage out in that area has necessitated this move up in the schedule. So we went through our typical RFP process, requested proposals, sent it out to 5 people, 5-person committee. They independently graded those And we put together what you guys see in your packet. So I'll stand for any questions.
Very good. Thanks, Gene. As far as the fund, did we budget for this or where's
Fuel tax.
fuel tax? Very good. Additional questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the contract for $193,875 to Enberg Miller Engineers for the design and construction observation contract on County Road 1243 Leos Drive as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gene. That concludes the regular portion of the agenda. We do have 2 items to discuss in executive session this morning, one being for personnel and the other for real estate. Uncertain as to whether or not we'll be taking action upon coming out. But we are going to meet across the hallway in the Castle Rock room, and we'll resume after completion there. So commissioners, at this time, I'd entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
For that, are we not doing item 10, fire restriction?
No,
No, okay.
that was rescinded at the beginning of the meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's unanimous. We are now in executive. Entertain a motion to come out of executive session and reconvene the meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. I believe we have a second by Commissioner Toman. On favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are out of executive after coming out. There is no action that needs to be taken this afternoon. So commissioners, with no further business, that concludes today's meeting. See you in a couple weeks.